Hello and a very warm welcome. You're watching Gravitas with me, Molly Gambhir. Let's get started. Our top focus tonight on Gravitas, we are telling you all about India's pushback after US President Donald Trump claimed that Prime Minister Modi assured him that New Delhi would stop buying Russian oil. We tell you all about that unfolded in the last 24 hours. Also on the show for you tonight, we are telling you how Pakistan is facing a multi-front war nightmare. Is the Gaza ceasefire falling apart already? Israel says it may strike again. We are telling you all that you need to know, along with updates from on the ground. All this and more coming up. India is pushing back against President Donald Trump's claims about Russian oil purchases. On Wednesday, much to the shock of the world, Donald Trump declared that Prime Minister Modi had assured him that New Delhi would stop buying Russian oil. But India clarified that no conversation took place between the two leaders yesterday. Listen to this first.
On the question of whether there was a conversation or a telephone call between Prime Minister Modi and President Trump, I am not aware of any conversation yesterday between the two leaders.
The Ministry of External Affairs stressed that India's energy policies are guided solely by the interests of Indian consumers, even amid a volatile global energy scenario. So, where exactly did Donald Trump's statement come from, and what motivated him to unilaterally make that announcement in a way? And just to understand Trump's decision to make such a statement, you need to see the motivation behind it. Donald Trump considers himself a deal maker, whether it's his rare diplomatic wins in Gaza or the global conflicts he claims to have resolved. Donald Trump has always prided himself as a deal maker, as a peacemaker, as a master negotiator. But there is one peace deal that continues to elude him. That's, of course, the Russia-Ukraine war. During his election campaign, he promised to end the Ukraine war within 24 hours of taking office. Well, it's been beyond that clearly. 10 months on, and frustrated by the stalled talks, Donald Trump is now trying to channel that frustration, it seems, elsewhere, pressuring India and China, countries that are not parties to the conflict in Ukraine. After imposing punitive measures on India with a widely unjustified 50% tariff, Trump declared on Wednesday that New Delhi will stop using Russian oil, a move that he hopes would squeeze the Kremlin's access to petrodollars. In fact, he, like everyone else in the West, it seems, believes that curbing Russia's ability to export energy to the world, the war in Ukraine can be somewhat put to a pause because of that. But it hasn't really happened yet. The sweeping sanctions on Russia failed to make a dent in Russia's war machinery. And Trump, despite those efforts to bring both Putin and Zelensky to the talking table, has not seen any progress. And so he is putting his frustration elsewhere, it seems. But now with India debunking Trump's claims, the lens is back on Washington and how it will respond to that clarification coming in from New Delhi. Since the war started, Western powers led by America have repeatedly criticized India for buying Russian oil. Still, India has remained firm in its stance, offering help as far as the peace efforts are concerned, but drawing the line as far as oil sovereignty is concerned. India's External Affairs Minister, Dr. S. Jaishankar, has consistently emphasized that New Delhi is focused on securing the best deal for its citizens and has pointed out the double standards of the West. India has prioritized energy security, sourcing from the most cost-effective suppliers. It has gone from importing almost no Russian oil before the war to becoming one of Moscow's top buyers, a role that has made Washington angry. Russia, meanwhile, has expressed confidence that its energy partnership with India will continue, but Trump's foreign policy approach of using threats and trade measures, it seems, to pressure countries is on display once again. Frustrated by his inability to end the Ukraine war, he has increasingly described the Russian president as the main obstacle to resolution. And for now, all eyes are on the Trump-Zelensky meeting scheduled to take place on Friday. Shifting focus for now, Pakistan's borders are rumbling and so is its political landscape. Under siege from just about every direction, it seems, Islamabad is now staring at the grim reality of a possible multi-front war against external enemies, insurgent proxies, and internal unrest. The fragile state is once again caught between fire on the front lines and fury on the streets. Take a look.
Pakistan is being crushed from multiple directions simultaneously, and the pressure is mounting by the hour. The Taliban ceasefire is a fiction held together by desperation. New Delhi has made it crystal clear. Operation Sindoor, India's calibrated offensive against Pakistan-based terror groups, is not over. It's merely paused. One wrong move, one terror attack crossing the border, one provocation, and India unleashes hell on Pakistani terror sanctuaries. Islamabad dreads this. A fragile ceasefire with the Taliban government in Afghanistan is barely holding after cross-border attacks and deadly exchanges of artillery fire. Islamabad accuses Kabul of harboring Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan militants, a group that has already conducted thousands of attacks across the border. Islamabad fears that the Afghan Taliban could once again unleash the TTP as a proxy, a move that could plunge northwestern Pakistan back into a battle zone. Then there is the most dangerous front, the fear of an internal collapse. Pakistan's provinces are once again on the edge. Former Prime Minister Imran Khan has called for massive protests after Friday prayers over the Murid Ke massacre, where government has, according to Pakistan media, censured the number of dead. Imran Khan, in his X handle, has said the number of dead are anywhere between 400 and 600. The streets are simmering, and there is also the Tehreek-e-Labbaik Pakistan, a hardline radical group which is once again stirring anger in Punjab. The provincial government now wants to ban the TLP, but that move risks further unrest. The group still commands thousands of loyal followers willing to fight under its banner. A military stretched thin, an economy in ruins, and political fires burning the streets. Pakistan's stability now hangs by a thread. Multiple fronts, one fractured nation. The storm clouds are gathering, and Islamabad is all set to collapse again under the weight of its establishment or the army general, which has failed it more than often. Bureau Report, WION, World is One.
Barely 3 days into the ceasefire, Israel-Hamas situation already threatening to reignite the 2-year-long war. Hamas has handed over the remains of 2 more Israeli hostages and says it cannot recover more bodies without specialized equipment, leading to strong reactions from Israel. Israel's defense minister, in fact, has issued a stern warning that if Hamas fails to return the bodies of all the dead hostages, the Israeli military will resume the full-scale operations in Gaza. Katz's office released a statement saying Israel will coordinate closely with the United States to ensure what it called a complete defeat of Hamas. According to Israeli media, Katz has directed the Israeli Defense Forces to prepare a comprehensive battle plan to quote-unquote defeat Hamas if the ceasefire collapses. Katz reportedly issued the directive after a high-level meeting with the IDF Chief of Staff and senior generals. Israeli Prime Minister has issued a warning of his own, in fact. Speaking at a state ceremony, Netanyahu warned that Israel will achieve all goals of the Gaza war it had laid out. Listen to what he said.
Whoever raises their hand on us already knows that they will pay a very heavy price for their aggression. We are determined to complete the victory that will affect our lives for many years.
Netanyahu reiterated that Israel is committed to bringing all the hostages back until the very last one. Under the first phase of the peace deal, Hamas has to return the remains of 28 deceased hostages. So far, Israel has confirmed the return of 9 bodies plus 1 that it said did not belong to a hostage. And in the latest, Turkey has sent 81 disaster relief experts to the Gaza Strip, some of whom will reportedly help with finding the remains of the hostages. This ceasefire, brokered by US President Donald Trump, has seen Hamas release 20 surviving hostages in exchange for nearly 2,000 Palestinian prisoners freed from Israeli prisons. But with each passing day, the deal grows shakier. In an interview with CNN, Donald Trump said he would consider allowing Netanyahu to resume military action if Hamas fails to fulfill its commitments under the truce. That statement, for the Palestinians, the cost of the 2-year war remains unimaginable, to say the least. Nearly 68,000 Gazans were killed during the war, and according to UN estimates, around 92% of Gaza's homes either destroyed or heavily damaged. According to the United Nations, nearly 55 million tons of debris throughout Gaza needs to be removed in the first phase of the reconstruction of the enclave. Amid the ruins, questions have now turned to what comes next and who will rebuild Gaza. In Ramallah, Palestinian Prime Minister said that the Palestinian Authority plans to work with the global partners to tackle Gaza's enormous reconstruction, governance and security challenges. Mustafa further said that Egypt is likely to host an international conference next month to coordinate the rebuilding process. The conference, he said, will help decide how donor funds are managed, who oversees them, and how aid will reach those most in need.
Hopefully, in the coming month, November, Egypt will convene the Gaza Reconstruction Conference in Cairo. This conference will serve as the central platform for mobilizing international resources and partnerships.
Tonight, uncertainty continues to hang over the ceasefire. Every gesture of peace seems shadowed by distrust. Every promise risks being broken. And for millions in Gaza and Israel, the hope of lasting calm and peace remains just that, a hope on the edge of war.
Yes, ready, and we have
A bold accusation from Moscow today. Russia's top security chief has claimed that the UK is secretly directing Ukrainian strikes on Russian energy lifelines. The FSB director alleged that British intelligence, including the SAS and MI6, have been orchestrating attacks on pipelines, oil assets, and even planning cross-border raids. From the Caspian Pipeline Consortium to the Turk Stream gas network. Bortnikov says London's fingerprints are just about everywhere, escalating what has become the new normal in Europe versus Russia's war of words, alongside the war on the ground, of course. And according to Bortnikov, British and Ukrainian operatives are also planning acts of sabotage against the Turk Stream gas pipeline, which was launched in 2020 to supply Russian natural gas to consumers in Turkey and several southern European nations. He also alleged that British commandos and intelligence officers have been involved in planning Ukrainian cross-border raids and drone strikes inside Russia. Not just that, the FSB chief claimed that Operation Spiderweb, in which drones were deployed from disguised compartments in trucks to strike Russian airfields this summer, was devised under British direction. Bortnikov also accused the UK of authorizing Ukrainian targeted assassinations inside Russia. The statements were part of a speech in which the Russian official described London's leading role in shaping the West's anti-Russia policies in an effort to maintain global influence amid the declining power. On the ground, meanwhile, the fighting has only intensified. On Wednesday, Russia said that its forces continued their offensives against the Ukrainian army in Sumy, Kharkiv and Donetsk, while Ukraine on the same day reported striking Russian military targets. The Russian forces reportedly destroyed Ukrainian armored vehicles, air defense systems, electronic warfare base stations and ammunition depots, and attacked energy facilities that support the operation of the Ukrainian military-industrial enterprises. Strikes were also launched on Ukraine's military transportation infrastructure and long-range drone storage points. Ukraine has said that its forces attacked key targets, including concentration areas of Russian personnel, drone control points, and air defense facilities, and destroyed Russian tanks, artillery systems, air defense systems, tactical drones. The Russian Foreign Ministry spokeswoman has said that Ukraine made it no secret of its preparations for, in their words, a terrorist attack against Russia. In fact, she claimed that Ukraine's new action plan included consideration of using the American Tomahawk missiles, and she accused the European Union of instigating the US to provide Tomahawk missiles for Ukraine, which showed that the EU had no intention of promoting peace. So, with threats and attacks escalating, is there no scope for peace here? Not exactly. On the same day, the Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov has said Putin is open to negotiations on the Ukrainian issue and is willing to resolve the Ukrainian issue through political and diplomatic means. But then one of the key current obstacles here is the rise in aerial attacks. Add to that US President Donald Trump's threat to arm Ukraine with Tomahawks. For Russia, that would be crossing the red line. The Russian foreign minister, meanwhile, has said that providing Tomahawk missiles for Ukraine will cause great damage to the normalization of the Russia-US relationship and herald the most dangerous tensions. Lavrov expressed hope that the US would recognize all the risks. Quick look now at what else is lined up for you on the show tonight. Uruguay has become the first Latin American country to legalize euthanasia. We are telling you more about this in just a bit. What's the story behind a scary hole in the Earth's magnetic field? What does it mean for you and me? We break it all down for you. All this and more coming up. Switching gears now, India has pulled off a remarkable leap in global military rankings. In a dramatic shift in air power dynamics, India has overtaken China to become the third most powerful air force in the world. While the United States continues to dominate the skies and Russia retains the second spot, India's climb signaling much more than just this ranking. It's a strategic recalibration in India and in Asia as well, and a message to its adversaries. According to the World Directory of Modern Military Aircraft, India now holding a rating of 69.4. This metric does not just count aircraft, but also assesses combat capability, logistics, modernization, and operational readiness. It places India's Air Force at number 6 globally. But then when you combine all US air branches individually ranked, India's Air Force emerges as the third most powerful single air service in the world. China, which is long seen as a rising air superpower, now sits behind India with a TVR of 58.1. What led to this shift? For one, India's air fleet is more balanced and combat ready and consists of nearly 200 aircraft with a strong mix of fighters, helicopters and trainers. It operates a diverse range of platforms: French Rafales, indigenous Tejas, Russian Su-30s, until recently MiG-21s, which have finally been retired after 6 decades of service. India's capabilities were on full display during Operation Sindoor early this year. A precision strike in Pakistan and Pakistan-occupied Kashmir, following a deadly terror attack in Jammu and Kashmir. The operation highlighted the Indian Air Force's ability to engage cross-border threats swiftly and effectively. Meanwhile, China, despite investing heavily in 5th and even 6th generation aircraft, has taken a hit in a way in the rankings due to the weaker training, limited close air support and bomber operations reportedly. And it's a reminder that fleet size alone does not define air dominance. Readiness, integration and strike capability matter more. Air power is still one of the most decisive tools in modern warfare, whether in conflict, deterrence or humanitarian operations. The US still leads and is backed by 40% of global military spending. But countries like India are catching up fast amid rising tensions in Asia, particularly along the LAC with China and the border with Pakistan. India plans to induct over 600 new aircraft in the next 2 decades, including the upcoming stealth fighter as well. This will further reinforce India's standing as an air power. So what we are seeing basically is not just a shift in rankings, it's a strategic message. India is preparing to defend its skies, its borders, and its influence with air power to match up. And for China, the message is clear: air superiority in Asia is now being challenged. Newly uncovered, a long-lost diary is shedding light on a little-known chapter of World War II. It belonged to a Chinese naval officer who sailed halfway across the world to take part in the D-Day landings in France. His meticulous account details not only the terror of battle, but also the narrow escapes and the heroic deeds of a group of Chinese officers who fought alongside the Allied forces. And now, decades later, the story and the remarkable journey from China to the beaches of France is finally coming to light.
Many of them, I guess, after the war, they tend not to speak about their wartime experience, and that's why this story was very little known and it was not being promoted and celebrated.
It's a gift of me learning who he was as a young person and understanding him better now, because I didn't have that opportunity when he was still alive. So now is my chance, is my second chance to get to know him better.
The tensions between the US and Venezuela have dramatically escalated, with US President Donald Trump hinting CIA's role in Washington's war against what they call narco-terrorists. Our next report getting you the latest.
U.S. is armed to the teeth. President Donald Trump has been rounding up his Caribbean task force, who are waging a war against what Trump calls narco-terrorists. The president says U.S. shot down 6 drug traffickers this week. This was the 5th time American warships have targeted what they call our drug boats. Now taking things to a different level, the US president is hinting at CIA's bigger role in Venezuela.
I authorized for 2 reasons, really. Number one, they have emptied their prisons into the United States of America. They came in through the border. They came in because we had an open border policy. And the other thing are drugs. We have a lot of drugs coming in from Venezuela. And a lot of the Venezuelan drugs come in through the sea, so you get to see that. But we're going to stop them by land also.
U.S. covert floating base, the MV Ocean Trader, has been observed in the Caribbean, rarely seen outside the Mediterranean or West Asia. The 633-foot MV Ocean Trader is a mobile base that can house nearly 160 military personnel and a crew of up to 50. It has provisions for 45 days at sea and is equipped to launch and recover helicopters, drones and small boats. US's F-35 Lightnings were also detected just 46 miles from the South American coastline. Venezuelan president has responded to Trump, saying his country won't welcome any covert operations on his soil.
No to regime change, which reminds us so much of the endless failed wars in Afghanistan, Iraq, Libya, and so on. No to CIA-orchestrated coups. Recall the 30,000 disappeared in the CIA-backed coups against Argentina, Pinochet's coup, and the 5,000 young people who were killed or disappeared. Latin America doesn't want CIA coups, doesn't need them, and rejects them. So peace must be won, must be preserved.
Venezuela isn't taking things lightly. It's activating its defense zones and conducting military drills with Russian-made Su-30 fighter jets equipped with anti-ship missiles. The South American nation has mobilized over 2,000 soldiers and militias on its front. Neighboring countries like Colombia say the beginning of CIA operations by US would be a dangerous escalation.
Yo la verdad no soy muy amigo.
If a violent operation begins by land carried out by CIA agents, they say, or by U.S. Marines, or, as we already know, if missiles are launched at an unarmed civilian population, whether or not it is part of the drug trafficking chain, because that would run counter to the United Nations Human Rights Commission's resolution, which unanimously approved the Colombian resolution.
While U.S. has placed a reward on arrest of Maduro, the Caribbean is a ticking time bomb, waiting to explode. Bureau Report, WION, World is One.
India is in the middle of a high-stakes digital transformation as states across the country compete to become the next big AI powerhouse. And leading this charge is a game-changing announcement from the global tech giant Google. The company's parent Alphabet has committed a staggering $15 billion, remember, to set up India's first AI data hub in Andhra Pradesh. And this is not just another data center. It's a massive initiative and can be called gigawatt-scale AI infrastructure campus. It will be connected to Google's global network spanning 12 countries, and the excitement does not stop there. The project is being seen as a catalyst for what's now being branded as AI City Vizag. It's a first of its kind urban ecosystem powered by artificial intelligence, high-speed connectivity, and green energy. And with this, Andhra Pradesh has officially thrown down the gauntlet and will quickly become a national race to build the next AI super hub. But with ambition also comes rivalry. The announcement has triggered a political firestorm, especially with Karnataka, the state that houses Bengaluru, which has been India's tech capital in a way. A war of words has broken out as Andhra Pradesh IT Minister criticized the infrastructure and power supply issues as they termed it. This prompted a response from the Karnataka Deputy Chief Minister, who said companies are free to go to Andhra Pradesh and learn from their experience. This race is not just about the latest move. This is about who will end up leading India's AI future. And this war of words coming in the backdrop after Karnataka announced its own AI city on the outskirts of Bengaluru. The state had announced the Greater Bengaluru Integrated Township, a bold new AI-powered city which is still in the pipeline. It's clear that Karnataka wants to retain its tech crown. And it's not just these two states, of course. In Uttar Pradesh, the government has unveiled plans to build India's first dedicated AI city in Lucknow, aiming to become North India's hub for innovation, startups, and smart infrastructure. And in Chhattisgarh, the focus is on back-end AI infrastructure with the announcement of India's first AI data center park in Raipur. From the East Coast to the heartland, from Tier 1 metros to emerging smart cities, this is a full-blown national sprint towards becoming the next AI powerhouse. And India offers a massive talent pool with its rapidly growing digital infrastructure, with giants like Google now placing their bets. The country is becoming one of the world's hottest destinations for AI development. The Pope welcomed a very special guest at the Vatican on Wednesday. The pontiff, known for his love of horses, was gifted a purebred Arabian from a generous Polish donor. The gift was inspired by a photo of the Pope on horseback in Peru. Take a look. Our next story is from the United States. It's about two realities taking shape there. Two contrasting realities simultaneously unfolding in the United States, involving billions of dollars. We are talking about the US government shutdown and the massive ballroom at the White House and a gala that took place. Let's just break it all down for you. The 2-week-old federal government shutdown may cost the U.S. economy as much as $15 billion a week in lost output. That's what a Treasury official has said, basically correcting an earlier statement from the Treasury Secretary that put the cost at up to $15 billion per day. A Treasury official saying the cost estimate was based on a report by the White House Council of Economic Advisors. Earlier, remember, Besant told a news conference that the shutdown was starting to cut into the muscle of the American economy. He had said the wave of investment into the US economy, including into AI, is sustainable and is only getting started, but the federal government shutdown is increasingly an impediment. And that says a lot. Meanwhile, something else has been happening. Remember the massive new ballroom at the White House we told you about earlier? President Trump on Wednesday welcomed nearly 130 donors, allies, representatives of major companies for a mega dinner at the White House to, in a way, reward them for their pledged contributions to this massive new ballroom at the White House. The ballroom comes with a huge price tag, now estimated to be $250 million. In fact, it's the most significant renovation that Donald Trump is undertaking during his second term at the White House. all four sides of that ballroom, which Trump said will be large and grand enough to hold even a presidential inauguration, will be made of bulletproof glass with its color, window shape and molding, keeping in character with the White House. Trump indicated that the fundraising and managing costs for this ballroom were going well, predicting that he would have money left over after the project is done. Those were the images that came in with several big wigs in attendance. The new ballroom is planned for the area where the East Wing is located and will basically encompass 90,000 square feet. The White House has previously said it will have a 650-person capacity. But Trump on Wednesday night said it will be able to hold up to 999 people. This project is yet to receive approvals from the National Capital Planning Commission and the Commission of Fine Arts, reportedly, although White House staff secretary, who was also tapped by Trump to lead the Planning Commission, has said that approval is not needed. The commission wets construction of federal buildings. The president, remember, has repeatedly complained that large White House events require construction of a tent on the South Lawn, since the East Room, presently the largest space there, can accommodate about 200 people. That's not all. At the dinner, Trump also formally unveiled another project, an arch that will stand on one end of the Memorial Bridge, which crosses the Potomac River and connects Virginia and the District of Columbia. In fact, he showed off several miniature models of this proposed arch, which will feature Lady Liberty on top in 3 sizes. And Trump said the largest was his favorite. The Eiffel Tower is facing an acute financial crisis, if you're wondering what this is about. The Paris City Council, that owns the monument, has increased ticket prices by nearly 18% since last year, and now another hike could be on the way, as new reports reveal the structure is sinking deeper into debt. A report by France's top audit office, the Court of Accounts, shows the Eiffel Tower lost about 8.5 million euros last year, and by 2031, that deficit is expected to climb to 31 million euros. Auditors are saying management severely underestimated the cost of maintaining the monument. The tower, which is made up of 180,000 metal pieces held together by 2.5 million bolts, keeping it in shape, is proving far costlier than what was expected. Just for context here, the company that operates the monument is struggling to recover from the massive revenue losses during the COVID-19 lockdowns, which wiped out around 149 million euros reportedly. But according to the French auditors, poor financial decisions have reportedly deepened the trouble. The auditors claim that back in 2018, repainting the tower for the 20th time since its opening in 1889 was expected to cost around 50 million euros. And what was the final cost? Nearly 142 million euros, nearly 3 times the estimated amount. A lift renovation also overshot its budget reportedly by nearly 2 times, from 32 million to 58 million euros. Officials once hoped to offset the rising expenses by welcoming more tourists, around 7.4 million visitors by 2031 compared to 6.3 million last year. But growing opposition to mass tourism in Paris has reportedly forced them to lower the expectations. The new goal is 6.6 million visitors over the next 6 years. For now, it seems that higher ticket prices may be the main fix, but then with expenses piling up, the Eiffel Tower's financial climb looks steeper than ever. The Eiffel Tower is, of course, France's most visited monument. Also today appears to be one of its costliest burdens, it seems. Since the war in Ukraine started, here on Gravitas, we have been reporting extensively on a hidden but critical infrastructure of the underwater fiber optic cables. They carry 99% of the world's internet traffic, and they are now being seen as a key asset in cyber warfare, espionage, and also global surveillance. Tonight, we are getting you a different kind of a story, one that connects those same cables to whales, a group of scientists in the US turning internet cables into microphones to listen to endangered orcas and potentially transform how we protect marine life. Take a look.
With the first light of dawn spilling across each day at the San Juan Island in the Pacific Northwest, a team of scientists is working by headlamp, carefully lowering over a mile of fiber optic cable into the ocean, not to carry data this time, but to capture sound of the southern resident orcas. Their population is just 75. Their survival threatened by noise pollution, toxic chemicals, and the collapse of Chinook salmon stocks, which is their main food source. To help them, scientists are adapting a high-tech solution originally designed for something else entirely. Distributed acoustic sensing, or DASA technology used to monitor oil pipelines and detect structural weaknesses. But now it's being used to listen to the ocean.
And we are testing to see if this technology is sensitive enough so we can use it on regular telecom cables that are already installed. So taking advantage of the infrastructure that we already have.
But why is this so significant and why now? Because the infrastructure already exists. There are over 870,000 miles of fiber optic cable crisscrossing the ocean floor. If DAS can work at scale, then we already have the skeleton of a global ocean monitoring system. It is just waiting to be activated, and this comes at a critical moment. In January, the High Seas Treaty comes into force, the global agreement that allows for new marine protected areas in international waters. But where should those zones be? What species need protection? And how are human activities like shipping, fishing, climate change are impacting life beneath the surface? The answers lie in data, the kind this underwater network could provide.
We need to understand how human activities like climate change, noise pollution, all those things are going to impact marine mammals and the broader ecosystem, and data is the answer, and we needed that to be cost effective.
From carrying internet signals to decoding whale songs, the humble undersea cable is being reimagined. The fiber optic web beneath our oceans could be the key to saving what's left of life within them, and that's a connection worth making.
Uruguay has legalized euthanasia, with its Senate passing a new law. The legislation positions the country among the few in the world where people suffering from severe and incurable illnesses can legally seek medical assistance to end their lives. With 20 out of 31 senators voting in favor, the bill crossed its final legislative hurdle after years of debate and delay. The lower house had already approved the measure earlier this year, leaving only the implementation process in the hands of the government. And this makes the country the first predominantly Catholic nation in Latin America to legalize euthanasia through legislation. In contrast, Colombia and Ecuador permitted the practice earlier through court rulings. Supporters within the country's Broad Front coalition defended the law as a matter of human dignity and personal freedom, likening it to earlier social reforms like divorce rights and same-sex marriage. The Catholic Church opposed the bill, arguing that life must be preserved under all circumstances. But the country's deeply secular identity has reportedly steadily reduced the influence of the religious institutions in public policy. The country, home to 3.5 million people, even avoids references to God in official oaths and refers to Christmas as Family Day. The passage of this law strengthens the country's reputation as one of Latin America's most socially progressive countries. It was the first in the world to legalize recreational marijuana and has legalized same-sex marriage and abortion more than a decade ago. Under the new law, doctors may perform euthanasia for patients enduring incurable and unbearable suffering. However, it does not allow assisted suicide, in which patients administer the fatal medication themselves. Applicants for euthanasia are required to demonstrate full mental capacity, and if there is any concern about psychological health, like depression, two independent physicians must confirm that the patient can make a rational decision. With this law, the country joins a list of a growing number of nations across the world that have legalized euthanasia. Did you know our planet is changing color? Yes, you're hearing that right. New satellite data showing that the Earth's northern hemisphere is darkening faster than the south, absorbing more of the sun's energy instead of reflecting it back into space. Take a look.
So the more sunlight we absorb, the darker it gets, sort of. So it's a bit like having a black t-shirt on a summer day. You get warmer because you absorb more sunlight because it's a dark t-shirt. If you have a white t-shirt, more of the sunlight is reflected away. So then it's lighter. It's less dark. So it's a bit the same. So what we see now is that, I don't know, the t-shirt of the Earth is getting a bit darker. So it means that we absorb more of this sunlight, and that means that the climate system is heating up.
The evening tipple is a ticking time bomb. For decades, we were told a glass of wine was harmless, maybe even good for us, according to some. That illusion is getting shattered, it seems. New research confirming there is no safe measure of alcohol, that just one drink could quietly damage our brain. Forget about moderation, the latest science revealing even small amounts pose risks. The new research published in BMJ Evidence-Based Medicine shattering that belief. After analyzing genetic and health data from over 2.4 million people, researchers concluded that even light drinking raises the risk of cognitive decline and dementia later in life. The researchers found that a threefold increase in alcohol intake, for example, from 1 to 3 drinks a week, raised lifetime dementia risk by about 15%. Researchers saying that alcohol is a neurotoxin that crosses the blood-brain barrier within minutes and gradually erodes the brain's protective white matter. Even small amounts can shrink gray matter volume, reduce memory performance, and increase iron buildup in the brain regions linked to Alzheimer's disease. Experts say the damage may be reversible if drinking stops early, but habits formed over time are harder to undo. The message here is, they insist, it's not about prohibition, it's about awareness. From the first drink, the slow, silent damage starts, raising the specter of devastating cognitive decline. The only true safe limit for brain health is 0. Our Earth's invisible shield is failing. A colossal silent wound is tearing open in our planet's magnetic field, and it's growing fast. Satellite data now confirming this vast anomaly has ballooned by an area half the size of continental Europe in the last decade alone, exposing our technology and potentially us to the sun's fury.
A mysterious hole is growing in Earth's magnetic shield. A weak spot expanding fast, swallowing space like an unseen storm. Scientists say the planet's invisible armor may be cracking open. Deep above the Atlantic Ocean, satellites have spotted something unnerving. a massive weak patch in Earth's magnetic field. In just a decade, the so-called South Atlantic anomaly has swelled by an area nearly half the size of continental Europe. It's not visible to the eye, but to the satellites orbiting our planet, it's a danger zone. The Earth's magnetic field acts like an invisible force field, a giant protective bubble generated by molten iron churning in our planet's core. It shields us from deadly solar radiation, deflecting charged particles streaming from the sun. Without it, life as we know it would be stripped away, our atmosphere shredded, satellites fried. Now, as the weak zone spreads across South America and the southern Atlantic, spacecraft passing through experience radiation spikes that can short-circuit sensitive electronics. Scientists aren't sure what's driving this anomaly. Some point to turbulence in the molten outer core, the restless iron river powering Earth's magnetic dynamo. Others suggest it could be the first sign of an impending pole reversal, a natural but chaotic event where north and south magnetic poles flip. If this weak zone keeps growing, it could expose entire regions to higher cosmic radiation, affecting satellites worth billions of US dollars and jeopardizing global navigation and communication systems. For now, Earth's magnetic field still holds, as the anomaly widens and deepens. The question that grows darker is our planet's shield beginning to fail. Bureau Report WION World is One.
Across various parts of India, artisans are hard at work crafting earthen lamps, colorful candles, and intricate idols ahead of Diwali. Preparations are in full swing as families decorate their homes and celebrate this festival. Take a look. And on that note, it's a wrap on this edition of Gravitas Tonight. This is me, Molly Gambhir, signing off. Thanks very much for watching.
From the bustling trading floors of Wall Street to the vibrant exchanges of Asian stock markets, WION breaks it down for you to make sense of what's happening, as we reveal the key factors behind events, strategic battles, and the game-changing business decisions that shape the world. We bring you all of this and more on World Business Watch.
As people across the world celebrate the Festival of Lights, we get you a list of movies you can watch this Diwali season, along with a festive style guide that you can take cues from. Also know all about Hayao Miyazaki's timeless films of Ghibli universe. All this and much more with me, Diksha Bisla, on WION at these times.
Over. Okay, you understand that? This is the historic dawn of a new Middle East.
The best day of my life.
Donald Trump is the greatest friend that the state of Israel has ever had in the White House. Mr. President, President, you are committed to this peace. I am committed to this peace for their great contribution to this effort.
Where darkness hides behind every corner. Where the truth is stranger than fiction. A show that dives deep into the stories which shock and mystify. Unsolved murders. Psychopaths who defy explanation. International war crimes. And millions swindled in financial fraud. The victims, the accused, and the sinister plot. Prime Crime is your front row seat to darkness.
The Earth is sending distress signals. Wildfires, droughts, and melting glaciers. Can we reverse the damage? Explore the harrowing effects of climate change. It's a wake-up call. Global emergency. Climate Tracker on WION World is One.
WION, India's global voice, the channel that brings you the biggest stories from across the world through India's lens. Now available in more than 190 countries worldwide, because we believe that the world is one. Watch us in Africa, Europe, USA and Canada, South America, Asia Pacific, Middle East and North African regions. Also available on these digital platforms across the world. WION, World is One. From the bustling trading floors of Wall Street to the vibrant exchanges of Asian stock markets, WION breaks it down for you to make sense of what's happening, as we reveal the key factors behind events, strategic battles, and the game-changing business decisions that shape the world. We bring you all of this and more on World Business Watch.
War is over, okay? You understand that? This is the historic dawn of a new Middle East.
The best day of my life.
Donald Trump is the greatest friend that the state of Israel has ever had in the White House. Mr. President, you are committed to this peace. I am committed to this peace for their great contribution to this effort.
WION, India's global voice, the channel that brings you the biggest stories from across the world through India's lens. Now available in more than 190 countries worldwide, because we believe that the world is one. Watch us in Africa, Europe, USA and Canada, South America, Asia Pacific, Middle East and North African regions. Also available on these digital platforms across the world.